We have another panel with another impressively long name. Here we go. We've got some people coming up to prep the stage and get ready for them. Our next panel is going to be discussing, are you ready for this? Empowering the early and post-early stage investment in equity markets, providing a better environment and better tools for angel investors, private equity funds, co-investments in startups, scale-ups, and high-growth businesses. All right? I dare you to say that 10 times fast. Don't do it. You might hurt yourself. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to move up to the front, feel free. I see some people by the doors there. We've got great VIP seats right down in front for you. So what is this panel going to be all about? Banks do it. VCs do it. Private equity does it. They collaborate. They syndicate. They come together to make investments so they can pool resources, they can pool expertise, they can act as a check on each other. Why can't angel investors? We are going to find out. We are going to explore how collaboration can help angel investors to make better decisions and get better returns on their investments. We've got a fantastic panel coming up for you now. Kicking off is our moderator who has come to us all the way from France. He is Marcel Dridge, the president of the Sophia Business Angels of France. Please, Marcel, bienvenue.
Thank you.
Merci, Marcel. We would next like to welcome from the UAE and the Middle East Trade Association for Business Angels. He is the president of that organization. Please welcome Abdul Malak Al-Jabbar. President Al-Jabbar, please. And there we go. He's also a frequent visitor to Montreal, so maybe we can do this one in French. Maybe, because I also understand that Candice Johnson, Emeritus President of the European Trade Association of Business Angels, is also a bit of a Francophile. So Candice Johnson, ladies and gentlemen. Come on up, Candice. Welcome. And we would like to welcome to the stage to complete the set, Mohammed Al-Rashidi, the founder of the One Global Group of Kuwait. Where is he coming up from behind? Here he comes. How are you doing? Thank you. Thank you. Marcel, vous êtes prêt?
I'm ready, mate.
Okay. He's ready, mate. All right. Take it away, Marcel. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. What a high-powered gig. Very hard to follow, mate. All right, so let me introduce you. By the way, just a show of hand, who is a business angel or a VC or equity around here? Okay. I think you should, honestly, I really invite you to come to the front. You'll see my makeup as well, by the way. All right. Let me introduce you to the panel. I think you guys have a guide and you see their wonderful biography, absolutely extensive. And I've been dealing with 2 of the 3 panels. I'm just have the privilege of meeting Mohammed just 5 minutes ago from Kuwait. So, lady first, Candice Johnson. What can I say? She is the President Emeritus of the European Business Angel Network. This is the EBAN. And she's supposed to stay 2 years. And all the members asked her to stay another term, and she just basically finished her 4th year running the European Business Angel Network, the voice of all the business angels across Europe. So Candice, welcome to this forum. The second person, Mr. Abdul Malak himself, all the way from Jordan, and he's the president of the Middle East Network, Business Angel Network. And by the way, as I'm introducing each one of them, they have one thing in common with each other. They're all serial entrepreneur. And I mean it. That's very, very important for the theme of today's discussion. So in a humble way, they can share with you absolutely an amazing, awesome personal journey, making it all the way a super angel. And hopefully one day you might meet them to be a coach and a mentor one day. I wish that for you. And finally, Mohammed Al-Rashidi. Welcome, Mohammed. All the way from Kuwait. And he is the president of the One Global Group. In his biography, you'll be seeing interesting thing what he's doing among his group of companies. And one of the things that really interests me around Mohammed, all the companies he did are related to the mobile payment, as an example. He even have like a patent, believe it or not, which is really an awesome achievement. And one thing as well that I'm really interested about Mohammed, he actually went ahead as an innovator and started a lab in Kuwait, and he's doing a lot of interesting things in that lab. So you see, I've checked you out. A big applause for the panel, guys. All right, let me be philosophical a little bit and give you some humbling philosophical view of the world out there. So, the world needs a new paradigm to meet the challenges it is confronting right now. Be it cybersecurity, as you can imagine, and all the attacks. I'm sure if you are from different companies, you'll be amazed how many attacks are coming every single day, every single week. Even on a personal basis, once in a while, I hear my friends being hacked, as an example. The food shortage, and you can imagine that is related to the overpopulation, is even involved in the weather change, the whole climate change around apparently some islands. Even the south coast of France, as an example, they started an interesting idea, which is going to be like a lab, because it's threatened by the whole climate change, believe it or not. So that's another interesting challenge. Terrorism and issues concerning our societies and the economy as a whole. So, philosophically, I think personally, as a business angel, I started like you, and now I'm president of an interesting group in the south coast of France. I believe every single individual, every organization, every company, and every government, like you saw in the earlier panel this morning, in the world, they should get together, find solutions and problems. And I'm really, really convinced that in a humble way, a business angel can be responsible as a person and can make an impact. But he cannot do it by himself. Hence, the whole theme of this conversation. All right, ladies first, as a gentleman. We're going to start with our friend Candace. And question for you. If you saw exactly what I just said about the business angel as the person, he should be responsible. How about the whole personal responsibility theme around this business angel equity and private equity theme? Push a button.
Thank you. Good. Technology wasn't my strong point. I'm just a techie, but yes. Well, you know, for me, personal responsibility is what makes me get up every single morning and do what I do. I think that, you know, Marcel, you were talking about today's world, and today's world is no longer just the world. It is truly the planet, and it is the universe. And so we have to have a responsibility towards the universe, towards the stakeholders in that universe. And my dear friend Abdul Malek, I always quote you, Abdul Malek, because I think it was like the third or fourth time that I met him, you know, he said, and I quote him all of the time, you know, business angels bring experience, expertise, network, and oh yes, smart money. And we've heard now in the previous session in Israel, you know, so great to see you. Hi. You know, that people are the most important element in our angel investing. And they're also the most important element in bringing about impact. You know, at EBAN, we have had the EBAN Impact Committee, or community now, for, I think, 5 years. And at one point, you know, we even said that angel investors are impact investors because they want to bring about a positive change in the world. And I think that, and I was just at the CEO Summit listening to Paul from the CEO of Turk Telecom and our colleague Peter Cowley, and you know, they were also saying, you know, actually, unless you get really lucky, angel investing isn't going to make you very rich. But rich in terms of what? Rich in terms of, you know, looking and seeing what you have done. Yes, some of those companies that you've invested in may fail, but they have probably led to the employment of quite a few people. You know, they have perhaps helped another company grow. So they have, I think all entrepreneurs today are social entrepreneurs. They want to make a better world. So, you know, that's what it means to me.
While I'm holding you as a speaker, Candace, just to go into the theme of the discussion, how would you describe you think, successful between the angel investment journey that you had all this year compared to the private equity? How would you describe the difference, the subtleties, and then syndicate with each other?
Okay, well, you know, first of all, every single angel investor that I know who went and did their first angel investment, usually after they had had a successful exit, they all lost their money because they didn't really know how to do an angel investment. And so, you know, we always tell everybody, particularly if you are a beginning angel, to join a network, join a fund such as what we've done with Rising Tide Europe, which is a fund for women, and we're hoping to do this also now in Africa with Rising Tide Africa. In fact, we are doing it. Yemi's here. So joining already a network is important. Then, you know, today, so many of the times, we are being asked to invest in entrepreneurs who are too young to be invested in by a venture capital group. And not only that, the venture capital company does not mentor the entrepreneur. Angel investors mentor the entrepreneur, and they help get that entrepreneur to the point where then a venture capitalist can invest, and perhaps even later on a private equity group. But we can't do it alone. Even within a network, you need to have other networks. And so actually we have been promoting syndicates, syndicates of angel investor groups who come together, and instead of perhaps investing 250K, will invest 1.25 million. And this can be in a region, it can be in a country, it can be across a border in a continent. So we have a number of cross-border syndicates where we put together syndicates in Switzerland, in France, in Germany, in Turkey. When we first started here in Turkey with Galata Business Angels, they had never invested, and so we had a arrangement, an MOU with them and the Sofia Business Angels so that they could then also invest in the companies that we had invested in, and vice versa, by the way, then. So, and then once you get that private angel investor syndicate going, then governments go, wow, this is really, really cool. These are private investors. They know what they're doing. We will follow their lead. And that is very important. You know, I always feel that private investors have to lead, but the governments can match or they can do a guarantee. And this is very, very good, and it brings together a whole.
Thank you, Candace. Abdul Malik, I think with your 100-plus startup investment, and what I'm interested in your background is the fact that you started in private equity with corporate back in 2004, and then you changed your journey into a business angel as a private citizen, I guess, and very successful at it. How would you tackle the same question I asked earlier on, the importance of this syndication between private equity and business angels?
Thank you, Marcel. There's a difference between the investments you do through corporate structure and then you go into becoming an angel investor. The first investments we did, I was the vice chairman CEO of Paltel, and then I moved to Zain. So these are two telecom companies. At the beginning, 2004, still you were talking about early stage. Actually, at that time, I don't think in our part of the world, if you say angel investor, anybody would understand even what does it mean. Did not exist. That's a long time ago. In terms of the whole ecosystem of startups and entrepreneurs, and that time we invested in a startup called Yoyoland, trying to create an online Arabic content kind of Disneyland of the Arab world. And the investment was done from the Paltel money, the telecom company money. It was not personal money, it was company money. And to be frank, you could say it was more of CSR. It was not really an investment. It was an investment in the company. So the legal structure was an exchange of shares and all of that, and valuation, technically speaking. But the theme, at the back of our mind, we were not thinking of an exit or an investment with the objective of having an exit. It was more trying to do something good in the community. We continue the same thing with Zain, also investing in startups as part of actually the whole money was as part of the CSR budget. Now, when I moved on my own as an angel investor, it's a totally different story. The whole engagement, the whole chemistry, the whole DNA, the whole relationship with the entrepreneurs is totally different. And it has a different personal engagement, it has a different feeling, it has a different philosophy, and at the same time, how to say, the panic factor in this case is much higher than the corporate investment, and the engagement is way much higher. When we did the investment through the companies, I had team members in the company who would work with the startup and try to support them. With my personal investment, I'm personally involved in interviewing and seeing both the failures and sometimes making wrong decisions, because as it was mentioned this morning, you are actually investing in the person, not in the idea or not in the product. You know, I can tell you one of the investments I did. After I did the investment, less than a month later, I'm traveling to Dubai, and I see the entrepreneur traveling business class in the same plane I'm on. When I saw the entrepreneur in the same plane with me traveling business class, I went back. When I went back and I sold immediately, I'm out, because you know these kind of things. And of course, frankly, I did not even care to recover my money. I was lucky that somebody paid me what I invested, but I was even willing to accept less, because this is a kind of if it was corporate money, okay, you'll be upset, but you're not going to react in the way you reacted. But at the same time, another investment I have done, and this is a company fully owned by ladies. The founders are two ladies. It started with these two ladies. Now they have full-time, about 55 full-time, and total employment they're about 250. So 55 full-time, and the rest kind of part-time. So when I walk into this startup and I see what used to be two young ladies, now an office full of employees and all of that, and sitting with these two young ladies, and sometimes kind of seeing them cry because they said, is it that difficult? I mean, going through the pain of scaling up, and they were not ready. None of us were ready, because we did not expect it's going to be really growing that fast, and having this responsibility on my shoulder is trying to coach them into the pain of being rich, you know, because to them, you know, something that we started with the seed money I bought was 50,000. and now the company is making a net profit of about 2 million. So for these two young ladies, that is so much money, they could not imagine how to handle it. So you know, that kind of pain also, it's joy seeing these many jobs being created, and seeing two young ladies becoming business ladies and winning awards across the region of being successful. So that engagement, that personal engagement, I think as an angel investor is extremely joyful. Plus, I think angel investment is important, and once again it was mentioned this morning, smart money and all of that. I think angel investors, they put money, but what's more important than the money, two things: experience and the transfer and coaching and mentorship, and in a intensive way, because you spend hours with these entrepreneurs answering their issues, and the thing is, I feel that you become like a sponge, because all this dilemma they're going through while they're growing up, they have somebody that they don't have to be afraid of, because they can admit in front of me their weaknesses and their fears. So this is really a very interesting part. The second most important part is what I mentioned this morning, is having this magic stick of opening doors, because in many cases, angel investors, they become angel investors after being successful CEOs or successful business people. We had this morning an amazing experience of our Turkish brother who did this amazing success story. Now, I'm sure if he's an angel investor in any startup, he picks up the phone and he calls any bank, any CEO of any bank in Istanbul, in Turkey, or any CEO of an insurance company, and he can get an appointment in 5 seconds.
Very true.
And he can bring this entrepreneur and say, okay, that's your opportunity. That is the power. That is worth more than the investment, because opening doors in the Arab world, let's be frank. If you are the CEO of a big bank in Dubai, and this young entrepreneur who has a disruptive idea coming, I mean, Muhammad, I think, can talk about this more than I, because that disruption. And you go to, there's no way you're going to see the CEO, for sure not, okay? Second, there's zero chance that they would even allow you to try this disruptive idea in the organization. But if a very powerful CEO picks up the phone and makes the call, and there is this interview, and you know, if the CEO likes it, then it's a good idea.
I
so
agree.
everybody below the CEO becomes kind of excited about it. So the connection and the magic stick, I think it's as important as the coaching. And the third leg, of course, is the money. But the money, the entrepreneurs who come to me, and if I feel they're more interested in the money, I walk away. I said, if you are coming for the money, I'm sure there will be people who are willing to write bigger checks than me, so go to them. If you're coming for the money, don't come to me. If you're coming for genuine mentorship and coaching plus networking, then I'm happy. But money alone, I'm not interested.
So the message from Abdul Malik, by the way, I've forgotten about the word he mentioned earlier on, frugality as well. That's a good insight in the way that you invest. Mohammed.
Before
Go ahead.
we go to Mohammed, I would just like to say, you know, I have been in Ramallah, and I have been in Abdul Malik's kind of accelerator. And you know, when he talks about mentoring, I mean, it is, you know, he provides the lawyers, he provides the accountants, you know, he provides himself, he provides his fabulous wife, who's also a lawyer. You know, I mean, it is truly, truly hands-on.
He has a skin in the game.
Yeah, I mean, more
skin in the game.
literally, you know, more than that. And so I just want to, you know, hats off to Abdul Malik, and that was really what, you know, drew me to him, to, you know, to see just how engaged he was.
Excellent insight. Thank you, Candace. So, Mohammed, you've been investing heavily for many years in telecom, digital content, health, education, fintech. What an amazing different verticals. I really want to have your humble feedback from your experience about the whole concept as a business angel, believing in investing in the entrepreneurship in the first place, and how do you do syndication in case you've been doing it in Kuwait or across the UAE. That would be an interesting insight you can share with us.
Okay, thank you, Marcel. Welcome, everybody. End of the day, I see faces are lots of power. So we'll try to make it exciting. So I'm basically an entrepreneur myself. I started my career graduating from the university, and then I want to do my own business. But I found that I'm not ready. And this is also a very important lesson for everybody. Every entrepreneur that quit university, go to friends and family and get money and go and burn it and then find a job. So I said I have to have a corporate life. I need to understand how institutions work. So I decided to join my first company in telecommunication. And the same company that Dr. Abdul Malik used to be in, Zain, but I was in the oldest version, MTC. When I joined this company, it was in the verge of transforming, going into a totally different domain from a local incumbent into an international incumbent. And a lot of excitement happening inside this company. At the same time, digital disruption started by enabling the text messaging and the GSM network and this Arabic text that time, and how to make lots of innovative content, poems, jokes that goes into the mobile, and everybody's excited. So that time, I thought something big is coming. So I decided in 19, and this was one of my first startups. In 1999, end of 2000, I set up a company in network value-added services. That does not exist. Germans was believing on that, so we collaborated with them. But suddenly, the management of MTC decided to move into the network value-added services strategy. So I was really in a verge of being my own or continuing to get more experience into this domain. So I decided to quit and sell my share to my partners. I was the founder. The two co-founders, they are the ones who continue, because it will be a conflict of interest. And this is very important for entrepreneurs that are working and doing other business. So it shouldn't be in the same domain. If you want to do it in the same domain, you have to quit. So I informed the management, and they decided that I have to continue, even if I want to continue in the other company. I said, no, I'm in the heart of this, so I have to quit. Then they retained me. I went back. I led lots of digital initiatives, multimedia messaging, GPRS, data, 3G, until I came up with the Java application that I launched in 2003, before any apps been inside the industry. And it was completely synchronized with the data centers on the cloud. The time of Vodafone Life. It was customization of a phone. I did it over other phones, which is the majority that time was Nokia. I felt that I'm mature. Then I decided to spin off my own company. And in order to do that, I have to start thinking what I'm going to do. Network VAS, not anymore exciting. Something bigger coming. From this Java application, I thought that Windows is going to be regenerated inside the phone. And in 2004, I left Zain, and I decided to create ISIS, Integrated Systems. And you can know why we changed the name from the name ISIS. And we launched the first platform, very disruptive platform in financial technology in Sudan. And it was called Saraf Mobile. No banks, no operators. People are the cash in, cash out agents. Wallet on the cloud. and $250,000 floating inside this network with 100 agents only. So they shut us down. And that time, we realized that we are not alone in this world. It's exciting that to go and disrupt and build a platform, but at the same time, you should look after regulators. So regulators came into my, carrying bag. The experience now it's accumulating. You see that starting from the university, then moving into this, starting an exciting company. It was exponentially growing in this network vast, then quitting, selling my share and continuing, and then opening this company, launching this platform inside Sudan. The whole globe was talking about this. M-Pesa was launched at the same time. It was a SIM card inside a mobile phone in Kenya, locked into closed loop for top-up and bill payment. We were doing purchasing. We were doing transfers. We were doing money movement between the states, actually. And that was very exciting that time. And a bad thing happened that our partner that were doing the actual development execution, they left us away. So from that, this is another important lesson that you should pick the right partner. And no mentorship, as Dr. Abdul Malik said, there is nothing called mentorship or coaching in our region. Everything has to be yourself. So you have to think yourself. So I decided to close the doors and start again from scratch, everything with the development ourselves. And this was a great, tough situation that pressured us to open our own development team and to own it. And we got more stronger. We were born on BlackBerry that time. So, and interesting thing about this journey from BlackBerry and how REM called us and positioned us and gave us a free booth inside GITEX in Dubai and positioned us as a financial platform. A lot of stuff. They came to acquire. We said no. Then at the same time, Google, we launched a VOD platform like Netflix, but our region is not shining like US. So we launched it across 3 states, actually, Jordan, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia. The content was given by NBC Group, which is a biggest broadcaster in the Middle East. And we've been making the pill payment, the pill and the credit, your balance as a method of payment. It was amazing. It was successful. Google wanted to acquire us that time with that platform, and we said no. So we continued this journey, and this is a very important lesson for everybody that is just seeking investor. You guys own a brain, and you don't know that this brain is valuing a lot. So it should be with the right partner, not with anybody. And don't think of money. It's tough, I know, but always try to distribute the risk. So get the talent, get people. People can save you a lot of money. So this is one of the important lessons if you get an angel investor. And this angel investor is a CTO, and your business is actually technology. It's better to get this kind of person because they will save you a lot in order to make a very minimal investment into a tech platform. So all in all, I got that patience is very important. Saying no a lot is very important. Not no like Yahoo no. Yahoo no is different when Google want to acquire them. Regenerating. So if you get an angel investor or you get a team that are obsolete, you should get rid of them. You have to phase them out. So regeneration is very important. New blood, new people, new minds. So the kind of the journey you see that always you start with your money or your family money, and then after that, where you are reaching a point to break even, this is where you start thinking of corporate money, like VCs or private equities or And this is where I see the angel investment always falling in, which is what they call the valley of death, everything in minus. Once it reaches to this break-even point, this is where the syndication can work, where the corporate is coming. I think angel investors can contribute into this as well by getting the growth stage. And then after that, you have another cutoff, which is the mezzanine, where you want to go IPO, where the capital market and other instruments will be involved. Bridging loans will be also, you can contribute. This bridging loan can be a syndicate between funds and angel investors, clubs mainly. So I can see angel investors, based on the experience that we have done, across these verticals. Every vertical, it has its own regulation, it has its own kind of experience, expertise, but with digital, everything is melting down. You mentioned a very important thing. You said everything in mobile. And was nobody believing on that. Everybody was believing in electronic, e-government, e-health, whatever. How to go digital, which is completely on the cloud and accessed by IoT wearables or mobile device. That was tough to believe in and continue with. So this is basically my 14 years experience at a nutshell.
Thank you, Mohammed. That was an interesting insight on both the entrepreneurial spirit you came through and then on the investment side. So now to the panel, and we start with Candace. I know that especially Candace and Abdul Malik, I think Mohammed might have had the same experience, but all of us, including me, invested in lots of startup. And some of the time, it's very, very painful. Very hard lessons. We can tell stories. The good ones and the bad ones. You know? People always like to remind themselves, yes, I have a successful exit, done it. But you will never know what goes with the other 50, 60 deals that goes north on you. So hence, my question, and you start with Candace, if you have to think back and look what you could have been different from an experience as a business angel, all the way from your best investment to the most successful, I'm thinking about Astra and SES, that's what we call you, the satellite lady. In a humble way, what could you have been doing different and from an environment perspective, from a tool to help you as a business angel to invest smarter? What were those lessons learned?
Well, actually, this is a very interesting question at this point in my life, because indeed, I really started life as a satellite entrepreneur, but I started this 40 years ago when not very many people were satellite entrepreneurs. And then about 15 years ago, I stopped being a satellite entrepreneur and I became an angel investor. And as Marcel says, I invested in many different types of companies. I invested in health. I invested in clean energy. I invested in e-commerce and ICT, etc. And after I stopped being president of IBAN, I served the two mandates, which is the maximum for the statutes. I got all of these emails from people saying, oh my gosh, Candace, you must have so much free time now, and can you do this? And actually, I've gone back to what I am really very good at, which is satellites and space. And I realize that I know space, and I know space technology so well that I really can make very good investments. And And also, you asked us to say what we think is important, and it was interesting, the gentleman who spoke this morning from FIBA Holdings and has the university, he talked about, the network. And I told Marcel, the power of the network. Well, in the space industry, because not only I have been a space entrepreneur for 40 years, but my father actually created the first satellites in the United States for the President Kennedy and President Johnson, and then went on to create the first private domestic satellites. I created the first private transporter international satellites. But, quite frankly, I can call anybody in the world in space. And if I tell them, I think this is a good company. And at the moment, I'm invested in 5 different space projects. And, they're all doing 5, 6, 7 times the multiples of, of what I put into. So in a way, I think, it was fun learning about all of these other sectors, particularly if I was investing in a fund or in a group, or a syndicate, so that I wasn't, I was learning from other people, which is very important. And our friends, in Africa, they have this idea of the syndicate and the hand, where one person knows everything and the other people are learning, and we're trying to do that too. So I definitely learned, and I didn't lose that much, but I definitely didn't make that much. But here I'm having fun, and I am definitely making a lot of money, so that's nice.
Interesting. So in a nutshell, before I go back to Abdul Malik or Mohammed, in a summary, and in fact I'm relating to what you're saying when people are giving me most of the cybersecurity projects. So you're talking about the subject matter expertise, the mentoring, the money, the smart money, as we say. But at the same time, that's why if you are thinking about going into a club of business angels, this subject matter expertise is absolutely an amazing value add to the whole community of investors. So absolutely. I hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. And to give you an example, we 2 young New Zealanders came up to me 6 years ago and said, we have terrible internet connection in New Zealand, and we're going to go to Australia to start, to ask them for satellite connectivity for internet. And I said, don't be ridiculous. I said, just start your own satellite company. And so we did, and I started at 8 a.m. in the mornings on Saturdays. They were at 8 p.m. And we created Oceania Women's Network Satellite. Now, they did not know how to do satellites. They did not actually even know how to do business. But they had the local information. They had the local network. I had the subject matter expertise. And just on December 3rd, our satellite system won the Better World Satellite Award. How much better can you get?
Congratulations.
So, yeah.
Abdul Malik, you as a serial entrepreneur, investor, business angel, going back to your early investments, same question for you. What are those lessons learned, if you have to do it again, basically to today, you can say, I could be smarter as an investor, I could have been different, and what would you advise to anyone in the room that want to be a business angel? By the way, there's a training workshop that I'm heading tomorrow in case you're interested to be a business angel. It doesn't matter what background you have, you will heard about the word, what does it mean, a business angel? A guy, a suit with some wings. Just come to the class and you're going to be having fun. So, Abdul Malik.
Well, that's a good question. There was one investment I wish I did. I'm sure everybody knows Waze, the Israeli navigation company. When it was the early stage, I had the opportunity to invest with some friends in that company, and at the same time, there was something in Kuwait called the National Kuwait Fund for Entrepreneurs, the $7 billion fund that the Kuwait government created, and I was asked through an Amir decree to be on the advisory board. So I basically said, okay. Well, I turned down the investment in Waze because I said, there might be some problems if I join this Kuwait fund, and Waze is really company, so I turned down the investment in Waze, which few years later it was sold for $1 billion. And if I had that angel investment, this would have been like $20 million. So if it goes back, I would have done the investment and maybe turned down the other offer. There are other investments which I think we were too early, and that's another painful thing. We were the first to invest in the e-commerce platforms, and the first investment we did was a grocery, online grocery, which is now quite common everywhere. Everybody's doing it. So we did this investment. It's called Salati.com, Salati from my basket, and it was painful. It was painful because we were too early in the market, trying to, convince people that this is a good way of doing their shopping. It was a nightmare with the tax authorities because actually it's not my product. I had deals with the major suppliers, and if I booked the whole revenue as my revenue, and then the VAT department is going to kill me, and I wanted to recognize only my commission, and they would not accept that. So we were stuck with the VAT department even until just last year to convince them that this whole thing is not, I did not own anything. I was just the middle person transferring, I receive an order online and somebody will go and get it from the supermarket, and we only get this small commission. So it was not only the money that we lost in the investment, which we, it was about $1 million, but also the legal complications. That's why I mentioned this morning is basically governments have to understand that these disruptive industries requires a different kind of bureaucrats other than those that exist right now. If you just talk about the Uber or Kareem, for that matter, which is globally well known, in many parts of the Arab world, it was a disaster. It was a whole debate about allowing and licensing, how to license, how to control. Sometimes even in some countries, you would have special police stopping private cars and checking, asking the passengers, are you getting in a taxi, or and then the Uber driver will tell him, you are my cousin or you are my relative. So this is the kind of problems that exist in the when I talk about this morning, the bureaucratic system that exists. They have to open up and loosen up. I can give you another example. We introduced the first prepaid in the US. You go and buy it from the supermarket. You go and buy a prepaid card. Nobody asks you. You could buy 10, 20, 30 prepaid cards and you can use it. We introduced the prepaid cards in Jordan, the first virtual prepaid cards for the online, and the central bank passed a regulation preventing private companies from issuing prepaid cards, and that prepaid cards have to only be issued through banks. The whole concept of prepaid is for the unbanked. If you have a bank account, that's not, okay, online is an issue, but to prevent prepaid for us and to only say banks can issue prepaid. So these are the certain kind of issues that killed many startups that we did. They were killed because of such regulations. If I'm to go back, I think there are three things I would do differently. First, I'll do more investments through syndication because I did most of my investments personally. So I would definitely put more efforts in having the syndicates and investing through syndicates. It's less risky, plus it's less exhausting because you have the load distributed among different friends.
1 + 1 = 3.
Exactly. The second, I would have done more diversification to geography. I would have invested in areas and countries that I did not invest in. That's the second thing. And the third thing would have put more effort individually and also collectively with the regulators. Because in many cases, we just went into the market without even trying to assume, let's, as we say in Arabic, assume the good faith first, okay? Assume that this regulator has good intentions and go try to educate him before starting doing a certain disruptive product or service. And that is equally important in our part of the world in terms of creating consensus and buy-in from the different stakeholders, be it regulators or government ministries. And sometimes you have to give them the ego. You have to give them the feeling that this is something that they have came up with, and sell them the idea, and then they become the inventors of this idea or the promoters of this idea. It doesn't have to become from us. So this is the three elements that I would have do differently than the way I have done my journey. I would really reconfirm what Candice mentioned. It's a lot of hard work. It's not easy at all to be an angel investor. There's lots of pain. You lose a lot of money. If you are going into angel investment because you're going to make a quick win, 3, 4, 5, 10, whatever X you're talking about, it's not going to happen. It will happen, but in certain parts of the world, it will take a long time. And definitely, you have to have not only the patience and the passion. Both has to be there because as CEOs of big corporations, I used to be CEO of many big companies, and you have board of directors and you have shareholders, and the whole setup of the way you run your life is different, because it's all about growth. It's all about shareholders wants to see the earning per share and the return and the dividend, and it's a war. Okay, now that's a different life when you go to angel investment. At the same time, we are not Mother Teresa, so we want to make money as well. So when we sit with entrepreneurs, and I do that all the time, some entrepreneurs, they would come and will tell me that my startup is valued at $5 million, and I'll tell them, thank you very much, you don't need me. Your company is worth $5 million. Why you are coming? So congratulations. Go and start giving money to others. You don't need money from me. So the critical issue is if the entrepreneur starts arguing with me about the present value of his startup, I don't go. If that entrepreneur believes in the future value of his or her startup, this is where I invest, because I see the future. If that entrepreneur is wasting, because he comes to you with Excel sheet, okay, come on. Even Zain or a bank with the Excel sheet of 10 years from now, look at what happens in our part of the world. Turkey, something happens, everything collapses. Same thing in Jordan. So even if well-established companies that are in classical businesses in our part of the world, the forecast won't work. You want to convince me that a forecast for a startup for the next 10 years is going to be even 10% accurate? So these valuations, when it comes to, and it's a totally different story about valuations, by the way, but these kind of arguments with the entrepreneur about my company is worth 10 million or 5 million, well, I wish it's 100 million, but let's work to make it 100 million. Let's now work on something that we can do today based on the facts we have in our hands.
Thank you, Abdul Malik. You could see that all the senior business angels, they speak with passion. And the reason why is because they had a lot of hard time to solve with investing with many, many entrepreneurs. So talk to these guys after the show if you want to have more insights. So my friend, Mohammed, as you're, by the way, you're the youngest one in the panel, as you can imagine. You still have your hair. You still have your hair. No, he's the youngest. He's the youngest.
I am younger.
He's the youngest.
He's dyeing his hair.
He's the youngest. He's the youngest. So as the youngest, and we're talking about the next generation, we're talking about empowering our kids in the future, etc., especially as business angels and investing in their future. Very interesting what you're doing with the one group as you're building it. And I'm sure you made mistakes, you made errors, etc. Many, and that's why you learn. And one day, by the way, you're going to be bald like me or gray hair. Could you, before I open the floor for questions, because we have 10 minutes to go, could you share your experience from an investment perspective? If you were looking for other people to invest in all the different businesses where you started, what could you have been doing different? And always think about the private equity temptation to the business angel group that you've been dealing with.
Actually, I already started 4 years back to invest in a startup and in angel way. So I try to mentor them, to train them. Actually, the first thing I do, I take the business plan and I throw it. So I built for them a business canvas, business model. So in a very simple way, what are the objectives from what you are doing? What do you want to do? Okay, what you want to do, you are targeting whom in order to achieve this? So this segment that you are targeting, okay, what are the pain they are having today, the problems? So and then profile these problems and come up with solutions. And then take these solutions and communicate it back to them. How you will communicate it? Digital marketing, face-to-face, partnership, depends. And then, which organization which team need to execute this? Okay, how much it will cost you to get this team and make this product? After that, what do you expect? How much you will make out of this? Then break it even and thank you. As simple as that. I don't need this big, bulky business plan that they paid their all savings in order to get it, in order to finance to execute. So basically, this is the thing that I always don't look into business plans. I always look into business models, or try to translate what they are talking about and try to map with the industry trend and how things is moving. My only, I don't see it mistake. It's a wiseness that I'm busy, and at the same time, they need a lot of time. So I won't do it alone. This is very important lesson for me from the 5 startups I invested in. I won't do it alone. One of them is now the second in Egypt in e-commerce platform, transforming factories from wholesale, from the factory into retail. It was a heavy investment for a factory to bypass their value chain and go directly to the end user. So we did it for them. It was a good experience. And then we did app as a service, another platform. There is a platform also doing e-commerce for Turkish product to be exported globally. So this is for you. It's exciting because I see Alibaba was having Chinese products to the globe. Amazon was having American products to the globe. This business model is having Turkish product to the globe, which is a rich market with manufacturing. So in all 3 everyone is different because the profile of the entrepreneurs was different. One I failed with was actually the guys having a bad intention from the beginning. I supported them a lot. They were an incubator. I took them, I structured a company. I put in their place. I get connections for them. We got business. So they start always increasing their demand without execution. At the same time, they were having an exemption. They want to be exempt from the military service. And this is very important. During this period, they have to be either studying or working, something like that, or not working, entrepreneur. They get an exemption in some countries. But this guy waited until he reached the proper age, and then disappeared. And which is very risky in some of our countries. This was one of the startups that I failed with. That's why I said alone wouldn't work. Also, I prefer my second partner to be from the country I'm investing in. So, because there is a different culture, different environment, and different people, if I have someone from there, these clubs, investment clubs that are in every country, and I'm interested to invest in a startup in France, for example, and Marcel is already there, so I prefer that Marcel to introduce me to an angel investor to co-invest together. I don't care he got how much, or this is an interesting opportunity, I need to take it for myself. No, I'm not that one. I like everybody. It's a sharing economy. So I prefer to be collaborative more than doing it myself. Having a local partner to be the counterpartner. And the third thing is that I won't invest in the same industry. For example, it was all digital. And there are other entrepreneurs, they were manufacturing products, and they were lacking the supply chain process. So for me, it was not smart money. I see it not smart money. I say, well, this is a trading. Why to put money in a trading? But actually, it helps because it might hedge this portfolio that you are working in or investing in, and put some money that can overcome the deficit instead of putting it from your pocket. It compensates the other. So you don't think of this you will make a fortune out of. You will be in deep tech, some industries, and someone traditional that can support this. This is basically what...
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mohammed. Thank you to the panel. So you could see there's a theme. I heard many times, even since this morning, the word trust. Very important as a business angel or a VC, equity. When you do a syndication, you'll be amazed at how much trust play into that equation. And sometimes when you do cross-border investment, like we do at SBA, you'll be amazed that it's all about trusting people. Because A, they know their country, like Mohammed said very well. We do cross-border with the UK, with Germany, with Dubai, with Israel, all around the world. And the common thing is trust. The other thing I've heard is the team. It's all about the team of that particular startup that you're talking about. I heard as well that business plan does not mean anything most of the time. So if it's not on one sheet or two sheets, we switch off. Anyway, I'll open up the floor for questions to the panel. The gentleman over there, please say your name and go ahead with the question.
You mentioned that you convinced the startup to change their business model, the ones in New Zealand, and to go into something that they did not really understand well. When should an angel really step up and veto a decision or change the mindset of the entrepreneurs? This is it. You've been successful in that, but this is very dangerous when it comes to changing the mindset.
So first of all, no, I did not change their business model. They wanted to do, they knew that they wanted to do satellite. They wanted to do something on their own. They wanted to have a company, and they thought that they could just go to Australia and get satellite connectivity. And actually, Australia is not a good country for satellite connectivity. You know, their country has said they're just doing the broadband, you know, terrestrial. So what I did, and this is a very, very important point in angel investing, and that's why I do want to address this. What I did was I absolutely took their original idea that they wanted to bring internet connectivity not only to New Zealand but to the Pacific Islands, because one of the 30-year-old entrepreneurs was was the president of the Pacific Internet Society. I helped them realize their vision. And, you know, I have seen so many times, now, of course, I happen to be, you know, 30 years older than they, and I did have, you know, all of the, you know, I could pick up, you know, the telephone and say, you know, and do this and everything. But I have seen so many times entrepreneurs who have had angel investors or mentors who have hidden agendas, who it is not, you know, they want the entrepreneur to do something that they had always wanted to do, or something like this. And this is terrible. This is absolutely terrible. And so you must really caution against that.
Thank you. My second question is to Mohammed, actually. What did your angel investments think when you quit your company and joined the Zain Telecom? You were doing something, they bet on you as a person, I believe. So was it a difficult decision? And from an angel's perspective, and today you are an angel, how would you react to another person that does that? You know, I'm just, you know, your angel investors, what did they say? What did they think? Did the company survive? Actually, this is the first question. I'm sure you were the main guy behind it. So,
you know, actually, when I quit, it was not no angel investors. It was my savings, my money. So it was my decision. And
what about your partners? Your partners have invested their time, right? I mean, I'm just wondering, how would that reflect, you know, on the current startup? You were the brains behind it. You got people around you. And then when you left, did it survive or not? And were they capable of getting it? Obviously, you had that experience. That's why Zain approached you and not the other co-founders that you had.
Actually, I left it when it's in the glory edge. We signed all the contracts with Zain in 22 countries.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay,
it was big enough.
It was a win-win.
Exactly. It was big enough. They couldn't scale after that. They lived with the maintenance contracts. So, but I quit because I don't want to create a conflict of interest.
I think the point of the gentleman is that's a nice, happy win-win situation. But I think his question was interesting because a lot of startup, and we know many where we invested, because if you're investing in a team and you have a thought leader out of the 3-4 co-founder, and that guy, for whatever reason, he quits, say goodbye, I would say, in my humble opinion, most of the time, that company dies.
Okay, very interesting.
Does that make sense to you?
I have
Excellent.
a startup now, the one with this military guy, service, that exam. He was the CTO. And it's a tech startup, this app as a service. But he doesn't know that, he thought that I'm obsolete with my technology background. So he was thinking that the company will collapse and he will come back to bargain about his share. So I deployed 4 out of him to do the job, less than his salary that I was dedicating for him. Plus, we changed the whole business model into a platform as a service instead of just software house to build. So it depends. That's why I'm telling you, angel investor that you are speaking, it has to be smart. He has to add a value to you. Don't look to the money, the small tickets you are getting to survive for 3 or a quarter or something. No, think in the future, the restructuring, the disruption that will do. Another company, the one here in Turkey, those guys used to be in Lebanon. and buying products from Turkey in order to sell it outside Turkey. So I said to them, guys, you should move to Turkey. Come to Istanbul, nearby the inventory, and conduct the business inside Istanbul. It's an emerging market. So, and I impose that we don't go outside before mature inside. And now they are launching over here from the country, the inventory from the country to the people inside the country. So changing the business model sometimes, this is the question that you directed to her, it's important, and it has to be a kind of agreement that this is the risk that we will be having if we go to this step. What will happen? Don't make a plan B. Forget it. Because plan B means what? You will be lazy. Okay, I have a plan B and a plan C. I will do that. But make it that you will break. You will disappear. Nothing will be happening. You will be sitting at home trying to find a job. Make it very insecure. Don't feel security at all.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. You're very passionate. Thank you, Candace. Thank you, Abdul Malik. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcel.
And of course, a big thank you to our moderator, Marcel Ridge. Merci, c'était vraiment superbe. Merci. Okay, thank you very much. All right, Candace, always a pleasure. Thank you.